to Casually Fit Podcast. My name is Rob, and happy Wednesday. I hope everybody is having a good day, or you're about to have a good day. Whatever it is, it's Wednesday, and with the Rona going around, Wednesday's hump day is a little bit different. That hits a little bit different, right? So, again, hopefully everybody out there is doing well. And maybe this podcast can help you out today, right? So, because I'm going to be talking about the ego, the ego, right? The thing that, many people get very uncomfortable with when you start talking about the ego. Even so much to say as, even right now, if I start just saying ego and talking about the subconscious, many people's ego will be like, yo, this is BS. Stop listening. This person is too hippie. He is too California. Stop listening to him. So, yes. Okay. So this whole, topic is a little, especially, when I was growing up, when I was younger, talking about the ego, even though you had Sigmund Freud talking about it, it's still, in general pop, in the Midwest, people were just like kind of dismiss it almost and just not even, recognize it as a thing. So I get why, people just kind of ignore it a little bit. And hopefully you still, if that is you, if you feel a little bit of an irk, if you're like, this is nonsense, I would hope you listen just a little bit farther because you are who I'm trying to talk to. Okay, so if you feel like I'm talking nonsense already, just give me a couple more minutes, right? So I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything, or I'm not trying to really, be like that, but just keep an open mind, keep an open ear, and let's see where this goes. Okay, so again, I want to talk about the ego, obviously, around the health and fitness arena. Many people, I'm sure, from the outside world would be like, yeah, health, fitness, ego, they go hand in hand. Egotistical people are all over the place, right? But I'm going to kind of talk about that. But I wanted to define the ego first. So the ego, to me, especially in this context, it is that thing that that pops up usually for most people when you are going through an uncomfortable kind of situation where you're having to kind of confront reality, and your ego, your I, the thing that you call I, says, no, we are not going to do this, right? Well, I'll take myself for example. Okay, so first off, right now, my relationship with my ego is different, but for sure, back in the day when I was a young buck, right, my ego would say, hey, you are a United States Marine Corps corporal, right? You have gone through boot camp, you've gone through Afghanistan, you've gone through all these things. This is who you are. And so that makes it very constricting when you're in certain situations. If you carry yourself like I was sometimes around as this corporal of the United States Marines, blah, blah, blah. And, the ego likes that sort of thing because it makes you have this false sense of feeling good. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm this or I'm that. And for most other people, for everybody else, maybe you're the manager of whatever company you work for. Maybe you are the supervisor, you're the team lead, right? That can play into the ego, and that's where you kind of create blind spots. And that's where I created blind spots, is kind of identifying with these things. And in terms of fitness and in the health world, there's a combination of a few things. There's a combination of people being like, well, now I can lift 250 pounds. I can bench, 300 pounds, whatever it is. And so the ego says, this is who I am. I am somebody that lifts 300 pounds. And in a combination with the Dunning-Kruger effect, that carries over into many other things. And that's where the ego says, oh, yeah, you know how to build yourself up to lift 300 pounds? Well, guess what? You also know neuroscience as well. You also know how to actually debunk E equals MC squared. So we have those issues as well. And that's one area where obviously the ego kind of comes in with the health and fitness. It does create this kind of Dunning-Kruger effect where you kind of feel like You are just way more knowledgeable in a bunch of different areas that you currently are not. All right. And I hope I don't come across that way. I hope that it comes across that I am more or less discovering and sharing as I go with you. Okay. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm the best person with all the knowledge. I'm not omniscient or anything like that. So, but yeah, so I wanted to talk about the ego and where it comes with working out specifically, or to start. It's getting hot in here. To start is the ego for people who are just starting to work out. This is where you can really go down some wrong paths. And this is the main area that I wanted to focus on, especially in the beginning. This could be a short podcast. It's getting hot in here. I kind of hope it is. But this is where I wanted to start, is when you first start off with working out. Because, what happens is, well, one thing you have to pat yourself on the back. You got to go, hey, everything's actually pretty cool right now. Everything's good because you actually pushed through your ego and you began to watch this video. If you're somebody who has just started to work out, just started to lose weight, just started on this journey, you have already punched your ego in the face. You have already dismissed it, because you went to a point, or you came to a point where you're like, hey, I don't need to work out at all. That's your ego saying, hey, I don't need to work out. I don't need to lose weight. I'm all good. I'm healthy. And then clearly you're just not, from doctors or whatever it is. And you say, no, I need to lose weight. I need to start working out. I need to start running. I need to start watching my diet. That's you already pushing the ego away or dissolving the ego a little bit. So congratulations on that. Now, the thing is that the ego is going to keep on popping up. Every now and then, the ego is going to keep on coming in there, and it's going to keep on coming in, especially when you are first starting off, right? There's a lot of things, just with a new environment. When you are in a new environment, the ego is going to pop in there, and it's going to try to deter you and push you away from the things that you previously sought out to do, like going into the gym, okay? Going into the gym, for some people, it's very embarrassing for them, right? I don't think it should be embarrassing at all if you're kind of looking at it correctly. But for a lot of people, it's embarrassing. And it's embarrassing for a lot of different reasons, okay? But I also think it's embarrassing not even just on like an appearance-wise. A lot of people think that when they go into the gym and they're a little bit overweight, people are like staring at them, judging them, and doing all that. I would say that's probably like 0.1% of the people that are in the gym that are doing that, if any at all. Most people don't care. And I myself, I love seeing people who are out of shape in the gym, because to me, I look at it and I'm like, this person just changed their mind. This person is going for it, and I get excited. So, but what also happens when you're in there, like say if you are somebody who is a supervisor somewhere, let's say you got the clout, let's say you got, let's say, I'm 30 years old, right? I'm not going to try to make any attempts to be young. I'm going to make fun of trying to be young, but let's say you have that supervisor position and you have some people under you, and your ego has kind of slowly built up over time, and you feel confident in the area that you're in, and you feel confident in your knowledge, and you feel confident in all these things, how you carry yourself throughout your entire day. You look at your bank account, you're like, yeah, I'm actually making money. I have a job. I'm in charge of people. I got a house. I got a car. I got a dog. I got a wife. I got a kid. I got all these things, right? And that just, if you haven't been watching your ego, if you haven't been aware of it, more than likely, all these things have been just building up this ego, right? And what happens if you haven't been aware of this, you haven't been looking out for it, what can happen is you take all that and you go into a very new, very exposed kind of setting as the gym, all right? Especially, I'm not going to get into a discussion on differences between men and women. I've seen this happen with men and women, but specifically, I've seen more cases just because probably I've worked out with more men than women, but I'm just going to speak from this experience. I would say that for a lot of men, right? I'm not saying that more men than women, but for a lot of dudes, from my experience, right? Again, I've seen this in women, but I'm just talking about from dudes. Sorry, I got to explain all this, right? But I'm not trying to piss too many people off, okay? But from my experience, a lot of dudes, when they get in there and they haven't been working out, because for me, I would always, if somebody is like, oh, I want to start working out, I want to start doing anything, whatever, I would always invite them, hey, you want to come work out with me? And so I would see this transition, right? This transition from they get into the gym, their eyes kind of get all big, they get all wide, they get very timid. If they're very, for some people, they get very timid. For others, they get, they completely turn against the entire thing. And it becomes this almost like shocking environment because whoever they made up in their head, for some reason, they expected that to carry over into the gym. And, 10 pounds is 10 pounds and 60 pounds is 60 pounds. If you haven't been training to lift that, if you haven't lifted that at all in a very long time or ever, you're going to have a very awakening experience trying to do that. Okay. And for some people, it can be psychologically destabilizing for them. Okay. And that's where the ego comes in. And that's where I'm telling people who are first on this journey is you need to look out for that ego to pop in all over the place. Again, for when you first come in there, if you're feeling a little bit embarrassed, just dismiss it. All right. Just focus on what you're doing. Okay. Just do that. Right. Even that's kind of egotistical. Just kind of focus on yourself when you're in there. But do it. Don't worry about the other people that are around there. But also on top of that, your ego can come in there when you're exercising a little bit further on down the road. What can happen is, let's say you've been doing an exercise. It's getting hot. Let's say you've been doing an exercise for, like 3 or 4 months, and you've been doing the same exercise. You've been bumping up the weight a little bit. Well, actually, in this scenario, you haven't really been bumping up the weight. You've just been doing this exercise for like 4 or 5 months. And you feel completely confident in it, and you feel like this is your exercise, right? Well, what can happen is the ego can, sneak in. It can build itself up in that little space, and it can create a blind spot to where maybe the entire time that you've been doing it for 4 or 5 months, you've been doing it incorrectly. You've been doing the complete wrong form. Like if you're doing chest exercises and your shoulders are so high up, you're actually doing shoulder exercises. So you think that you're making your chest stronger, when in actuality you're just making your shoulders stronger only up until a certain point, until they get injured, until you F something up, right? I'm trying not to swear. Until you F something up, okay? And that's where the ego comes in there, and that's where it's a problem. And you see that a lot in the gym. You see a lot of people who clearly have been working out for a while, but, on certain things that they do, they just got this thing worked up in their brain, and they're like, this is how I do this exercise. And you can go on the interwebs and you can find a whole bunch of hilarious videos, all right, to confirm what I'm talking about. But so that's what you got to look out for, all right? Not just to not be on the internet and have a hashtag look at this or anything like that, but to help you progress farther, okay? So if you're doing something and you're like, no, this is my workout, I'm all good, I don't need to bump up the weight, I don't need to do more sets, I don't need to do more repetitions because I do this exercise to feel good about myself, right? That is an issue. That is where you stifle your progress, and that is where you create this blind spot to where maybe you stop losing weight because you stopped pushing yourself, because you got up to a certain level and you said, you know what, this is good. Your ego said, okay, we're better than the ground level, we're at level 1. Right? And your ego says, we're good, but you don't since your ego says you're good, you don't realize that there's 50 levels and you're only on level 1. So that's an issue. And that's what I'm trying to hopefully help people who are first starting off and who have actually listened this far into this podcast is hopefully you can see this as an issue and just be a little bit more self-aware. Just be a little bit more aware of when your ego pops up. Usually if you're feeling extra good about yourself, guess what? It might be your ego popping up, creating a blind spot, especially in the gym, like I said. So you really got to watch out for that. Now, hold on one second. I did write some. I just want to make sure. Now, also, another huge issue, again, so this is, we're moving down the line. First off, the ego is going to first stop you from getting into the gym. When you get into the gym, the ego might be telling you, hey, get out of here. All right, you can't lift this much weight. And you're going to think that people are staring at you and think of you as inadequate. And your ego is going to be like, no, you can't lift this much weight. Look at all these people lifting weights. No, you don't need to do this. Get out of here. So the ego is going to pop up in there. And then a little bit further down the line, after you do a couple exercises, your ego is going to say, oh, yeah, you're good. Don't focus on your form anymore. Don't focus on your form anymore because it is perfect. Don't reach for more sets because you're doing enough sets. And don't reach for more reps because you're doing enough, right? So you get it, okay? And then a little bit further on down the line, when maybe you're in there for like a year or two, and you're really moving and you're really starting to push up a little bit more weight, and you're actually trying to like get stronger. Like maybe your goal now is, hey, I want to get stronger. This is where ego lifting comes in, and this is an issue. Ego lifting will injure you for sure in the short term and maybe in the long term as well. Like here's an example. And I haven't looked into this too closely as far as like really diving into what's going on, but my back has had many issues for a lot of different reasons. There are a lot of different reasons why my lower back, it's messed up from, being in the Marines, wearing flak and Kevlar, bouncing around in Humvees or Mat Vs, not Humvees, doing all sorts of stuff. Surfing, lifting weights. But one specific time, there was a time where I was doing the cable row, and I was like a year. This is like when I first got out of the Marines, so I was still working out a lot. And I was doing a row, and I remember it too. I remember doing the set and being like, I'm good. I was already doing, at this point, I don't know how much I was rowing, but it was a lot. And in my mind, I was like, okay, that's good, Rob. But then my ego just popped in there and was like, no, let's go a little bit more. For whatever reason. I knew it wasn't a logical reason. And what happened was I bumped up the weight and I just got really, really into it. And I ego lifted and something popped. And I actually had to something literally popped, and I was like stuck in that position for like a couple minutes. And I had to slowly get up, and basically from that point on, I just had all these issues with my back, which through stretching and active resting recently and doing a whole lot of body weight exercises, shout out to the Rona, that really got me on track with my back, and it is operating much better now. But that's an ego lift, and that's an issue. And I also had a whole bunch of other ego lifts, which has caused problems in my elbow right here as far as like regular bench, because I used to bench, I used to be able to rep out 315 a few times. And so that was my level, right? But to get there, I did a whole bunch of ego lifts. And even in that 315, I think, again, I repped out the 315, and I didn't even think I was going to be able to lift 315. So that's an issue, because now when I do bench, even if it's low weight, I have this issue with my elbow that hurts a lot, and that affects my surfing as well, which is annoying. If I do the the bench press. If I just do a regular bench press, I have this issue, not in the incline or decline, but just regular neutral bench press. I have this issue. So that's from many ego lifts over time, right? Because there's many times where I would be lifting weights and I'd be like, well, that kind of hurts, and I think this is a little serious. And I would go, my ego would go, nah, you're a United States Marine, right? you can bench 200. I mean, this is dumb, but this is what I thought. I was young, right? And I would just be like, you can bench 275, you can bench 300, go for 10 reps, right? Don't stop at 8. Who cares if your elbow hurts? You're a United States Marine. Go ahead and do it. And, and then I have these issues. I have the issues with the elbow, got issues with shoulders, lower back, so from personal experience, ego lifting, don't do it. And thankfully, I've been able to kind of cobble together my body in a way to where I can actually lift some weight. And not right now because, I just got back into the gym. Again, shout out to the Rona. But I've been able to surf and do all these things. But I've also seen a lot of dudes just really go straight down. I've seen them do some ego lifts that really injured themselves, and unfortunately they weren't able to bounce back. So watch out for these things. Okay, push yourself when you're exercising, push yourself when you're lifting weights, but you need to distinguish between actual injuries, something that's going to actually injure yourself and cause you to stop, and pains. All right, so try to figure that out without injuring yourself. It is a little bit difficult, but try to do that. And one way to make sure to kind of stay away from that arena is to recognize when your ego is popping in there and is saying, hey, that lady over there was looking at you, right? So, you were going to do 6 reps, but you know what? Let's bump up another 20 pounds and let's do 8 to 10 reps, right? That is a choice that many young men make, right? So get away from that choice because you can go a few times where it doesn't hurt you, but sooner or later it is going to catch up to you. So watch out for the ego lifts. And again, this can happen, men, women, it don't matter. If you get into this mode, if you get into this driven state to where you're like, I got to do this, I got to do that. Again, this is all good up until a certain point. Okay. And if you're just starting off in the gym and you're kind of going up through this progression, you have to realize, again, that you're still kind of a student. You're still kind of learning how to do things. You're still kind of learning things about your body. So take a little bit more measured, a little bit more cautious approach to it, which I know, somebody telling me to be cautious and measured, especially when I was younger, I mean, I wasn't really going to listen. So, I hope people listen, but, I just want to get that out there. So hopefully some people do listen, and then that's where you can actually have a healthy body and you can have limited amounts of injuries, right? You're not going to avoid all injuries, but you can limit the amount that you do have. Now, and lastly, I got a couple notes, right? This is only my 5th podcast, so I got a couple notes, all right? And lastly, I just wanted to talk about, which I kind of already talked about, is your ego is going to come in there and it might stop you from improving yourself, which is obviously an issue, all right? Again, you can get to this certain level to where, you're going to go through levels. Basically, this is the way you have to look at it. You're going to go through levels. What you find uncomfortable today, you will more than likely find comfortable in like a couple months. In a couple months' time, that state of being uncomfortable doing that one exercise X amount of times, in a couple months, that same exact scenario, same exercise, same amount of reps, same amount of sets, that's going to be comfortable. And when you get to that point, that's where you got to be like, okay, this is comfortable. How do I be uncomfortable? Okay, you need to realize this is how it stops you from improving. That's where you got to go, okay, since I'm comfortable, how long have I been comfortable? Oh, I probably could have started bumping up the weight 2 weeks ago, and I didn't. I probably could have started doing more sets or more reps 2 weeks ago, but I didn't. And recognizing that is pushing away your ego. So again, I was thinking two thoughts at the same time, and here I am, lost. But recognizing that is going to that's going to help you out, right? That's going to help you improve, is recognizing these little points so you can keep on going up throughout the levels. And I think that's, and also there's another point that I wanted to bring on with this, but maybe I'll come to it. But I wanted to say is the ego for some people, it can actually be a driving factor, right? Instead of this opposite effect of where the ego comes in and it kind of stifles your progress and all that. And I would still say, again, the ego is going to create some blind spots. But in terms of working out and exercising, I mean, there's first of all, just look at people who are fit and healthy. A lot of them are egotistical, right? So a lot of them play into their ego quite a bit. So obviously, not everybody dissolves their ego and comes out of this whole situation, somebody that isn't driven by their ego. But what I'm trying to say is that for some people, you can dive into your ego. Your ego can actually say, hey, you're a United States Marine. You got to keep on going. But you do it in a way that doesn't injure yourself, even though eventually it probably will. But that can help you actually push forward. Having that ego being like, I'm this is that, and I need to keep on going. I need to push. So if you can sometimes use that, I mean, what's really, it's hard. You gotta really be in there with a microscope, and you really need to be making sure you're doing all the right things. You're not letting it take over, but you can definitely use your ego. If that's what it's telling you, you can definitely use your ego to propel you forward, but you need to know when to not listen to it. I guess that's the main message is, again, for a lot of people, this seems to get into the way of a lot of things. And again, some people might know what I'm talking about. Some people have no idea what I'm talking about, or they refuse to listen to what I'm talking about, but it's there, okay? We've been talking about this. I mean, Sigmund Freud, it's been, what year is this? Is it like the early, I don't even want to say, don't even want to say, oh, I was right, early 19, so he was around from 1856 to 1939. So he's been trying to psychoanalyze things for a while. Apparently he got a few things wrong and all that, but this discussion has been going on for a while. And right now, I think it's currently in an uptick, right? So there's going to be more information coming out. There's going to be more studies, and this thing's there, right? So I just hope that I just hope you listen to this and you realize that this is going to be something that comes up, and this can just stifle your progress. And if you're somebody who's trying to lose weight or get stronger or run faster or doing any of these things, sure, you can get there with following your ego the entire way, but it will create blind spots for you, and some of those blind spots can be huge. Okay, some of those blind spots can cause you to get injured badly. Some of those blind spots can just make you somebody that nobody wants to be around, right? That's an issue. Yeah, sure, you can run a 5-minute mile, but not one single person wants to hang out with you. That's an issue. But yeah, so just look out for these ego problems. I feel like this room is 200 degrees, so I'm going to get out of here. I'm not sweating through my shirt yet, but I feel it. Yeah, episode 5. This is Casually Fit Podcast. It's on its way. Okay, so I'm going to continue to try to bring topics to this podcast. I'm going to continue to try to prepare a little bit more for these podcasts, and just give you the goods right away. Because again, my initial thought, I didn't think I'd be doing 30 minutes on the ego, So I am trying to get these things down a little bit more. Um, so yeah, again, I appreciate everybody who's listening right now. I'm going to try to get better at these things. I hope this podcast helped you out. Hopefully, the videos help you out. Check out this video I just put out on Monday. It's What Does Obese Mean? And it's very actually interesting. I think I might do a podcast either this Friday or next week or sometime in the future about that as well. The BMI calculator, it is weird. It does seem like we are actually mislabeling quite a lot of people. I saw some numbers that were pretty ridiculous. So I got to look into those numbers a little bit more, but it seems like we mislabel a lot of people as obese. So where that plays along with everything, it's very hard to really kind of say. But it's fun to speculate, that's for sure. It's fun to speculate. Even if you might be wrong, it's still fun to speculate. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more, and might be getting a more, again, direct podcast where I go over it. But yeah, so check that out. Do whatever you want to do. I got a workout program. If you want to do that, it's like $9.99 membership. You get access to 3 workout programs, and I'm going to continuously add in things to the membership, right? As this thing progresses, as more people watch, as more time I'm able to spend on this, I'm going to continue to add things in, especially to that membership. I don't plan on raising the membership price. I just plan on adding in a whole bunch of things. But yeah, so I hope everybody has a good day again. It's hump day. It's Wednesday. And have a good one, all right? Adios.